Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, or welcome if you're new to my channel. And again, welcome to the new subscribers that I have had lately. I'm happy that you're here and I hope you stay for a long, long time. I've been talking with a lot of BookTube content creators lately about the ups and downs of BookTube, and I am just always grateful for the relationships that I have with each of you, and this is the whole reason why I'm here. So I just want you to know that all the time because it's important, and you need to know that you're seen and heard and valued, right? We all do. So today I'm going to talk about what I've been seeing and why I am separating this from a physical book haul. Now, my my noticing this month is that I need to do something differently, and I am setting my 2026 goals, and I indeed have a plan for what I'm going to do differently. But for now, I'm going to just reveal to you the books that I have downloaded digitally in the month of November, and I am officially done. I have cut myself off of both digital and physical. I have one more book coming in on Wednesday of this week, and hopefully I won't order any more. Maybe for the whole rest of the year, but we shall see. So I decided a little while ago, as I told you, that I was going to focus on, and it is one of my goals, to read my Nook more often, not every day, not going to go through that again, but definitely want to appreciate my Nook app. I don't own a Nook device anymore, although I might end up getting one. I'm still on the fence about that, but mine kind of kicked the bucket. I had had it for a very long time since I worked for the nonprofit long time ago, like really long. So I would love to get back to my Nook titles. And for some reason, when I discovered that this was something I was longing for, I then decided to add a bunch of titles to my Nook list. So I'm stacking 4 new books that I got. Now, these were all super cheap because you know me, I'm super cheap when it comes to digital content. And then, of course, I have some that I got on my Kindle as well. So let's just get started. I was watching Sarah Swan's haul video yesterday, I think, from her trip to Chattanooga and New York and different places, and she had a pretty big haul. And I know her favorite saying is, "It's okay, everything's fine, it's all fine." It is okay, but also for me right now, I am just thinking about something differently. That's where all this comes from. All right, so let's start with the Nook. All right, so the first one is called This Is Not a Game, and this is by Kelly Mullen. And I have never read anything by this author because I think this is her debut. And it is a gamified kind of a story. So, you know, I love those, but also it has pretty good ratings. And I was able to find it on my Nook as a sale priced offering one day. They send me emails too that say, "Hey, here's the ebooks that are on sale today." Yeah, I need to stop looking at those. But this is about an intergenerational relationship, a grandmother and her granddaughter, and they're on a little trip together. So they're traveling and they're snowed in at a lavish party at a mansion where the host has actually been murdered. And they, of course, have some skills that they need to bring forward to be able to solve this mystery. The thing that I like also about this the most, I suppose, is that it's set on Mackinac Island, which is a place that we used to go to when I was a child, and I love it. And so this one to me is just like a combination of place, a combination of gamifying, and of course, a mystery thriller. So I feel like I want to get to this one soon. It came out earlier this year, I think in April perhaps, and it has a 3.42 rating, but a lot of people haven't read it yet, so I'm really interested to see how this goes. And the cover is really super cute too, so obviously there might be some drinking involved in this place where they are on Mackinac Island, but we shall see. I have to tell y'all, I'm not used to this Nook setup anymore. This one I don't know if I will read this one this year or not. I might, just because it is called The Christmas Eve Murders. This is by Noelle Albright, and I have never heard of this author or this book. It is a whodunit. It says it's hilarious, so that's also good. It might be a cozy little fun mystery. It's also been billed as a novel that fans of Richard Osman and Agatha Christie might enjoy, and I am a fan of both of theirs as well. So this is Christmas Eve, and they are in the Merry Monarch, which is a pub in the Yorkshire Dales. So you know it's a setting that I really enjoy, and the pub is preparing for its annual event, which is like a game night for their regulars. They have this kind of Christmas celebration, right? And this year they're interrupted by a knock on the door and a stranger who's stranded, and there's a horrible storm that's coming. So, locked room, festive, who done it? But the power then goes off and darkness descends on all of them, and the games turn deadly, and it seems like one of them is willing to kill to be able to win this game. Christmas, mystery, crime, thriller, I'm all in. And this one came out in November of 2024. So this has been out a while. I just now saw it and it seems like something I would love. 3.49 ratings. Not a lot of people have read this either, but I would say this sounds like it's a cozy to some degree as well, but maybe not. We'll see. This one is called Found in a Bookshop by Stephanie Butland or Butland. I'm not sure. This one has a 4.22 rating and almost 10,000 people have rated it. So that's a little bit more of a book that is getting more buzz anyway and more readership. So this one starts out with this statement. We are trying to stay at home. I am enclosing a check and I hope you will use it to send us some books. Please choose books that we might think are wonderful. Rosemary. So the Lost for Words bookshop finds this note, and their bookshop has been kind of quiet. They have not had the customers that they had in the past, and they're really looking for some folks to come in and spend some money in the bookstore. And Rosemary and George have been married for 50 years, or at least together for 50 years. And it says their time is running out. So I'm not sure what's happening, but my assumption is that they're not able to come into the bookstore, that they maybe are both aging into some sort of a disease. And so they've decided to set up their last journey together without leaving the house and their garden in particular. They have a bench in their garden and they love to read there. So they just need someone who shares their love of books. So the owner of the bookshop is named Loveday Cardew, I think. I don't know for sure. Cardew. And Loveday decides that she and her team and maybe some other people in the neighborhood can help and be useful in what might be a crisis for these two folks. And so they're going to recommend books that will help them with the situation that they're in, and then looks at other ways in which to reach out to customers to support them in getting a book that really speaks to them in the moment of what's happening, which we all love, right? And so I think this one is beautifully set up. It is considered chick lit, romance, literary fiction, contemporary, a book about books, of course, which I love, and a cozy. So it kind of hits all those buttons for me as well. So now you know why I got it. This one is Before Dorothy by Hazel Gaynor. This is an author I have not read before, but I have one of her books on my list. I think it was Christmas in Paris or something in Paris, but I haven't read that one yet either. But this one has pretty good buzz. It's almost 4,000 people have rated this one, 4.17. Hazel Gaynor is a popular author for a lot of friends of mine. They have read her and recommended her to me before. This one is a little dark, but it is also a retelling. So we're assuming that this has something to do with the famous Dorothy that we all know about from Kansas, where it's set in 1932. But also this is being billed as a retelling and historical fiction, obviously, and a story about family and both adults and a younger child. So Emily Gale's sister has died beloved sister. They were very close. And so she is now going to become a mother overnight because her sister had a young girl named Dorothy who would, of course, not have a family without her. So she moves her to Kansas. She's not exactly feeling comfortable about being a parent, and they live in Kansas and they're kind of isolated. There's just not a lot of connection for other people. The synopsis says it's no place for a child. I mean, I guess it depends on what your child loves, right? Like, but nevertheless, Emily is grieving over the loss of her sister, and Dorothy obviously is grieving over the loss of her mother. So they're being tested by all kinds of tricky things like droughts and storms and all kinds of stuff that's just around them, kind of like you remember from Mrs. Gulch or Miss Gulch driving the bicycle down the dark road with the storms coming in. So the question is, well, this is the tagline that I want to read you because this is kind of what drew me in. From the promise of Chicago in the 1920s, which I want to know where that comes in, to the harsh beauty of the Kansas prairie during the Dust Bowls of the 1930s, this is a story of family, duty, and one woman's journey to self-discovery. This was first published this year in June. I think I brought this forward. If I didn't bring it forward in Most Anticipated, I remember talking to somebody about it for sure. And so that's what led me to get this one to stack my Nook for the new year. I'll probably read this like not in the winter, so maybe in the summer, maybe the spring, summer, the time where, storms dust up in those places and tornadoes and all that stuff. So we shall see. So let's look at what I added on my Kindle this month so far. There's a bunch. Let me just say, The Kill Clause is an Amazon short story by Lisa Unger. One of the first choice things is often if you get a first choice book for free, you can get an add-on that's a short story. And so I have a number of those now. And this one is one that I am looking forward to and I probably will read. It comes out December 1st. So I'm probably going to read it in December because it's a good time to do that because it's a Christmassy feel. So this is about Paige, who's a hit woman. And she's been doing this for a long time and it's almost Christmas. She's in this palatial home for whatever reason, if it's hers or not, I don't know. And her ex-husband is just driving her nuts, and she has this job that she needs to accomplish. She has to knock somebody out, right? And so the kill clause would suggest that she's a hired killer. When she goes to get rid of this guy, she discovers that he has his young daughter with him. So of course she can't do that. She just has boundaries, right? So she retreats from that job and obviously is going to try to do this again when the daughter's not with him. So she does try to do it again, and the daughter is still with him. So it says the ghosts of her past come back to haunt her, and she's got to kind of make it through some of those things, but she's also got to figure out a way to eliminate this man without doing it in front of his child. And can she even do that? Like, can she outsmart them in some way, or can she get away with this? Because what happens for hired killers. I mean, I don't know that this happens in real life, but I'm sure it does, but it definitely happens in books. If you don't do the job, you're going to be X'd out, right? So there you go. But that sounds like a good one, and I would like to get to that one. Then the other one that I got from Amazon First Reads is a book that I had never heard of, the authors I've never heard of. It has some good buzz already, although people are not reading it yet either because it doesn't come out till December 1st. So if you got an ARC, you've read it, right? This one is 10,000 Light Years from OK, and it's by Tracy Dobmeyer and Wendy Katzman. Now, it already has a 4.22, so again, I loved this title. That's what really drew me into this, was 10,000 Light Years from OK. It is, though, also a little dark, but it is hopeful and weird. So this is only billed currently as a romance, but when I tell you what this is about, you'll of course think, well, this is a little bit fantastical. So magical realism, maybe. I need to know what your definition of both of those are and how they're different, because I was just noticing recently that that's hard to pick. Nevertheless, this is about a widowed, grieving young novelist who believes that her words create realities that are both good and bad, because she finds out 4 years after her husband Sam has died that there was something in one of the books that she wrote that might have plotted this out, and she may have caused his death. So she's very upset, and she's afraid to write again because she doesn't ever want anything like that to happen again. And her husband was an astronaut. So she's about to just kind of give up on everything. But then she decides to write a new book, which is a fairy tale, and it's about an astronaut who miraculously returns home to his family. And she's loosely drawn this hero from her memories of her husband. So she's essentially trying to bring him back, in her books so that she can process her grief. What happens though is an actual astronaut shows up in her life, and he's very charismatic, and she's thinking, did her husband send this person to her or what? And of course, her family's really worried about her because she's kind of going off the deep end here. And I am always intrigued by a book that is set up in a kind of unique way, but also a book that's co-written by two authors to see how coherent it is and how they approach that, perhaps. I probably won't know for a while, but this one is definitely one that I would like to get to. I don't know if this one has any specific season of time, so there's that too, but I just keep stacking the Kindle as well. It's not easy being me. So the next one is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is book 1 in the When in Rome series, and I think I heard about this from Lee at Dark Roots Creations or Dark Root Creations. She's a good friend of mine and a booktuber as well, so check her out if you haven't already subscribed to her channel. She does read a lot of romance, which I'm back into the groove of that a bit, and so this one is definitely romance, contemporary literature, a rom-com it's being billed as, and fiction, of course. But when she was talking about it, and I think she was talking about book 4, maybe 3 or 4, I was thinking, well, I could start with book 1 and see what I think. So Sarah Adams is a new author to me. It has pretty good ratings. A lot of people have read this book, definitely. So this is about a small town baker and a girl who is kind of, I think, a social media kind of image, pop culture kind of thing, TikTok maybe. So she ends up just her name is Amelia Rose, and they call her Ray Rose for some reason, and she's burned out from all these years of doing this, so she just gets on sort of a road trip and breaks down in Rome, Kentucky. So not the real Rome, but the Rome here in the U.S. And in Rome, Kentucky, she meets Noah, who has a pastry shop or a pie shop, something like that. And so you can see that from the cover. He lets her stay in the guest room, but I think they're kind of not jiving at first because she's a social media kind of star, and he's, kind of a down-home Rome, Kentucky kind of guy who just likes to bake pie. They, of course, probably become connected in some way, I'm going to assume, and she has to wait and stay there until her car is fixed, which is a recent premise that I had from another book, so that's also interesting. But this sounds fun, and I'm going to ask Lee what season of the year would be good for me to read this, because I don't know. But this was published in 2022, so again, she's published several in this series since then, and so I may end up getting to all of those. We shall see. It might be like what was the one I've been reading? The first one was it's Lori Gilmore's series. The next one I think is Gingerbread Bakery, maybe. I don't know, but I haven't gotten to that one yet. On Kindle Unlimited, I got book 1 of the Eddie Flynn series, which is called The Defense by Steve Kavanaugh. I had just finished 50/50 by Steve Kavanaugh. I will be definitely going on with this series, and I thought I should probably start with book 1. So this does set up that Eddie Flynn has been a con artist for a long time, and he's done some pretty irresponsible and difficult things, but then he became an attorney and realizes that both of those things are a bit connected to each other. So he has 48 hours to defend a man who is Russian, and he's the head of the Russian mafia in New York, and he's strapped a bomb to Eddie's back and kidnapped his child so that he will represent him and get him off of this case, right? And get him freed from prosecution. It sounds horrifying, but also all of his books are really dark, and they're sometimes pretty graphic, and yet I still devour them. Thriller, mystery, crime, legal thriller. I'm definitely wanting to get to that at some point. I probably could collect his books and feel good about that in some ways, but I'm also recognizing that perhaps my collection is complete. Like Ariel, right? Like I probably need to just stop. This is a Kindle book. I had points and I could get it for free because you rack up Kindle points if you buy Kindle titles. And I did. And so I cashed in my 300 points for A Day of Fallen Night, which is book 2 in the Roots of Chaos series by Samantha Shannon. And I have book 1 on my Kindle already, and I have book 2 physically on my shelf. However, it was free, and there was nothing else, to be honest, in the list of books that I wanted to get. I could have gotten a $15 ebook and taken the $3 off of that. But again, I just don't like to spend that much money on ebooks. So I ended up getting this. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. I could show you the actual physical cover, but I'd have to get up and disrupt my sweet Winifred. So I'm not going to do that. I don't know what this is about, and I'm not going to look. So because I haven't read book 1, I'm not going to look. But this is fantasy, mind you, and I don't know who I am, but I'm really looking toward some fantasy next year and maybe even this year, because it is kind of calling to me, sort of like some other things have been calling to me as well. So I would like to get to this one. It has a pretty good rating, 4.5 here on Amazon, but also 4.3 on Goodreads. And a lot of people really like this. And The Roots of Chaos sounds like a book that I would love, but it goes back to that universe that was set up in A Priory of the Orange Tree, which I didn't tell you. That is the first book, A Priory of the Orange Tree. And there's 4 women apparently in these novels, and so I would really like to read a fantasy that focuses on women. And I'm ready. I'm ready to go to the Priory of the Orange Tree for sure, and maybe this one too. This might be a big book summer adventure because they're both very, very big. This one is 897 pages. I know. And The Priory of the Orange Tree is 849 pages. So they're both really big. And that one came out in 2019, and it was a very highly rated book as well. A lot of people love it, and it was recommended to me at that time, and I grabbed it, and then I left it on my shelves. So there you go. So this is my digital shelf for today. I'm really excited to share these with you, and I hope that you enjoyed watching them. There is a variety here, so hopefully something sparks interest. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these authors, as well as whether or not this is something that's been on your list. If you read fantasy, romance, whatever you want me to know about you, I'm happy to read about you in the comments and get to know you, or know you better than I already do. I am trusting that my Kindle will make it through but I don't know how many days, 426 days, I don't know. A lot of days I've read it in a row, but I'm also ready to let this go because, yeah, it's becoming now a little bit less sort of, it's a habit, so I don't ever not do it, but it's becoming a little bit more of a, was this a good idea kind of situation. But I did get a couple of new stickers. One is, this is my emotional sport Kindle, and then this is Chill Sloth, which is a little ice cream shop up the street from me in a small little town in Mississippi, and it's so delicious, and there's an actual sloth. I've talked about this before, in the ice cream shop, and I go just to see the sloth. And of course, the ice cream is just another little benefit. But if you've ever come to Mississippi, let me know. I'll meet you at Chill Sloth. All right? Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support, your comments, your love, your sharing of recommendations and reads. And as always, happy reading to all of you. Bye.